How to make a silicone appliance for effects makeup. First, here we have the clay. Now we want to warm it up a little bit with our hands. You could also put it in a Ziploc bag and put it submerged in warm water, and that will soften it up a little bit too. So what I'm doing here is some tubes out of clay. We're just rolling, and we want to make a few of them because we're going to create a muscle tissue pattern. And we're going to create that by putting all these tubes, little tubes together. So let's do that. Doesn't matter if they're not the same size, just kind of arrange them however you like. Okay, so we're going to put them together, and I'm also going to give them a little bit of a trim here. And I'm also going to give them a little bit of a curve as well. So it looks a little bit more anatomically correct. Oh, no, by any means is this sculpture gonna be a work of art or anything like that. I'm just doing kind of like a quick demonstration for you guys of what you can do if you just start sculpting and sculpting away. Just let your imagination roll. And here we're creating a little wall of clay all around it to kind of build the edges. As you can see, we're making them taller around the edges. What we have here is a finished piece. I'm going to show you what I did with this little tool is I rake it just like a little fork. Do it in one direction, then do it in another direction just to create that skin pattern. You know, skin has like a little square pattern. And we can use this metal brush to kind of clean everything up, give it a little bit more texture. And what we have here is the alcohol 99%. I use that for my alcohol activated paints. I use it for these and also for cleaning other things. So make sure you have a 99% alcohol. It's a little bit hard to find. So what I'm doing here is brushing away kind of like the little imperfections, like the little extra bits of clay that just got left behind. Now what I've done is create a really long tube that is going to serve as the border. So I did something really long, and I'm going to put it around about a ½ inch around the wound, the prosthetic, the sculpture. Here we have a long piece of foam core. It's about 2 inches tall and kind of a little bit long. I'm not sure exactly how long I cut it, but what we're going to do is grab it and break it out into little pieces. It's very malleable if you just kind of break it into little pieces. Create something round that is going to be the mold, the walls of your mold. So it's going to have to be as long as the sculpture plus about a ½ inch all around. So there you go. We're going to put about ½ inch there. We're going to have to watertight these so the silicone doesn't come out. So what we're going to do is use this hot glue gun to glue all the way around on the outside, but also on the inside. I like to, like you see, I like to definitely make sure I make it watertight inside and out. I don't want my silicone spilling whatsoever. So that's kind of like a tedious process, but here we have. I'll clean it up a little bit with those little hot glue, spider web type of things. So what we're gonna have here after we clean it a little bit is Pol-ease release agent, which means it's gonna help the silicone break away from the clay, so we don't have too much to clean on the silicone. It's also gonna release from the edges and the bottom. If the release is making little pools, make sure you have a brush and kind of brush it all around, and it's in all the little details of the sculpture. I have marked a cup with A and a cup with B. Here we have our silicone that we're going to use for the mold. We have part A and part B. Now this is going to be a 50-for-50 ratio, which I find really easy to work with. Most of the silicones I work with are 50-by-50. So here we go. We're going to put the same amount of part A and the same amount of part B. What you want to do with the slow pour is get rid of the air bubbles. Here we go. We'll pour the part B for the mold. Now that we have the two of them, what we're going to do is we're going to grab part A, put it into part B, then put part B into part A so they get mixed together very well and you're not leaving behind any other silicone in the opposite cup. What we're going to do is put it in the mold. You're going to see me here putting both of them, and I like to be really thorough when I do these because I don't want to leave any little bit of silicone behind and make it like 40 by 50. We want to make sure we have those measurements correct. You want to mix it a little bit slow. However, you only have 20 minutes to work with this particular silicone, which is, I think, a long amount of time. I think it's perfectly fine to take your time mixing it. So we're going to pour into the mold, into the sculptor. We're going to start putting it in the details, like the very inside, very middle of the mold, and very slow. As you can see, those air bubbles kind of affect the quality of our mold, so we want to be slow. And here, speed it up, but what we're going to do is definitely go slow. And make sure you surpass the surface of the application. And to make even more air bubbles, we're going to tap it from the bottom, tap it from the sides, and you can see they kind of come on the top. Now that the mold has set, we waited about 6 hours on this one because it was a little bit cold. We're going to release it from the mold. I'm going to open it here and quickly release it. I like what I'm seeing so far already. Seems pretty strong. So now we're going to peel it off. I'm going to do it a little bit slow, not too fast, because I don't want more clay to get stuck in the mold and then I'll have to clean some more. I like it to peel in just one piece. So here we go. We're going to do it slow and then boom. Look at that, not that many clay attached to it. So it's going to be easier to clean. For that, we're going to grab the 99% alcohol again. And we're going to grab a couple Q-tips. So with that, we're going to just kind of dip it in the alcohol and remove the clay that is in all the little holes. After that, we're going to put Vaseline on the mold to create a release from the encapsulator. We're going to put a lot of Vaseline all the way in the details. Make sure you rub it in there. Leave it for a little bit and then wipe it off. We want to wipe off a lot of the Vaseline, but make sure there's a thin layer that's going to serve as your release. Now here we have the Super BITY. It's a very strong chemical, so I suggest that you wear a mask. We're also going to need the alcohol 99 again. Here you see me pouring the alcohol and the BITY. We're going to use a ratio of 4 to 1. 4 parts alcohol, 1 part BITY, just to make it thin enough to go through the airbrush. So here we have our airbrush. What we're going to do is pour that in there, and we're going to spray the mold in one direction. Then we're going to spray the mold in another direction, just to make sure that we get all the details. Make sure you do in different directions, about 4 to 5 times, something like that. Now we have here the silicone we're going to use for the prosthetic, which is Platsil Gel-10. We got part A. We also have part B here. It's also a 50-50 silicone. So again, it's very easy. If you're just starting to do these, I think you're going to get really good results. So 50 by 50, we're going to measure here the same amount of both of them. Again, make sure your stick that says A stays in the cup that says A, and so on. You don't want to make a mistake and have your silicone setting in the wrong container or start setting before you want it to set. I'm going to show you pigments now. There is this little cream pigment that I got from Brick in the Yard, and then there's different colors of it, but I use the flesh color the most. Now these are very strong and they make silicone non-translucent. They're going to be really thick and they're going to mix with the silicone and just create a new color. But what I have here is the flocking. Flocking is different because there's little particles, like you can see here, that float in the silicone and don't affect the transparency. I got a couple of colors here, yellow and red, because the skin has a few different colors. So you're going to see how a little bit of a pigment goes very long ways in the silicone. I want to keep my translucency, which is exactly what I like about silicone. So what I'm going to do is put some flocking in there. We're gonna mix really well, and you can see the flocking is never gonna dissolve all the way. It's just gonna float in there very nicely. Now we bring our stuff here, and we're gonna do our normal A to B cup. We're gonna pour the A into the B, and then we're gonna put the B into the A, just like we did before with the other silicone. It kind of goes the same way. We're gonna pour it, we're gonna mix really well. Now what we're gonna do is pour in the mold very slowly, and just start with the deeper part of the mold. Make sure you fill it up, and then once you do that, you can just move on to do the whole mold. The edges too, the little border we created, that's super important to get the silicone inside of too, because that's what's gonna allow you to grab the prosthetic without breaking it. They're gonna be very delicate because the encapsulator is very thin edges. That's what we want from a nice application like this. So we wanna make sure those edges have silicone in them. I'm putting downward pressure, but I'm also making sure I don't damage anything. Now, when you're done with that, you're gonna grab a Q-tip and remove the excess silicone that is around the border. And here's the baby powder after the silicone has set, about 40 minutes. We're gonna sprinkle it a little bit because it's gonna be really sticky. So once we put the baby powder on the top, it's gonna make it manageable. Otherwise, it will just stick to your fingers and you could damage it. So what I'm doing here is with like a stick or anything that has a little bit of an edge, something sharp, I'm gonna start really, really slowly pulling the silicone away from the silicone. And what the baby powder is gonna do is just gonna make sure that the silicone underneath is not sticking to itself. So I wanna do this very, very slowly. It's a tedious process, but again, it smells delicious, so that's the cool thing about it. When you get to the borders, maybe you wanna give it a little help there with your fingers, like that. Try to go around and pull the edges evenly, not pulling one side and then the other, just kind of starting from the center. And what I wanna do here is put a lot more baby powder. I go through all of that. And then, as you can see, we're doing a little close-up of here, how we remove the gooiness. We stop the gooiness of the silicone from sticking to itself. And slowly I'm gonna pull that out. Like I said, it's a tedious long process, but the satisfaction of just pulling the application from this mold that you work so hard to make, it's really cool. It really is. And you start kind of building the anticipation here and really building really slow, knowing that you're gonna get this application. But here we go. We're gonna do the last pull here, kind of a little bit more baby powder, and here we go. We're gonna pull that out. It's gonna be super. Let's take a look. Once we remove it from sometimes the silicone sticks to the silicone. So that's it. That's how you make a silicone appliance. Hope to see you in the next video when we're gonna apply these, and we'll teach you how to glue it, get the edges very thin and credible, and paint it and finish it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.